It's good to be bad. Too long in video games have we suffered under needing to be a sweetie pie. Sometimes you just gotta let off a little steam. Or, in the case of these quite wildly bad playthroughs, a Chernobyl-grade explosion. Well, if you wanted to do that to the absolute extreme, then these playthroughs would be for you. Though, be warned, these aren't your average dark side Jedi anti-hero or morally grey playthroughs. Fun fact, Australia, where I'm from, didn't have an R18 plus rating for games until 2013, which basically means any game that couldn't quite squeeze into the M15 classification was just refused classification and couldn't be imported into the country or sold in the country. So suspend your moral sensibilities and get ready to repeat. It's okay, it's just a game. It's about to get really messed up. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 9 most sadistic evil playthroughs in gaming. Number 9, Fable 3. When you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And similarly, in Fable 3, when you act like an unhinged maniacal villain, you also get the horns. Fable 3 is a game that's particularly effective at not just letting you do naughty things, but also making you feel like the embodiment of evil who's having an impact on the world around you just by being your naturally despicable self. You get real ugly, people run away from you, probably because you keep murdering them, you quite literally eat live baby chicks, and you end up as a despot who establishes child labor and implements totalitarian measures like demanding exorbitant taxes and exploiting the locals for their goods. Each game really does let you embody that mustache-twirling, cartoonish villain, and in these cases, you are bad and you are drawn that way. Number 8, Undertale. Undertale's reputation as a game that not only lets you choose pacifist options, but also play the entire game without taking a potential foe's life is pretty well known at this point. It's also a game that lets you go full sadist with the genocide route. And well, if the name didn't give it away, it pretty much does what it says on the tin. If you want to be crowned the scourge of the underground, you'll have to properly break bad and kill literally every possible monster in the game. This includes all the cute doggies, which is where this route gets extra messed up. You'll also see fun changes in the way characters react to you and the things you can do in the game world. Like when checking Toriel's cupboard, your text won't notify you of the cookie cutters for gingerbread monsters, but instead it reads, "Where are the knives?" Yikes. And then you end up doing a murder on her, naturally. Sparing even a single boss or failing to max out the kill counter in every single region will have you forfeit the pure evil run. So while you might be a terrible person, at least no one can say you're not committed. Although you probably should be committed for your bloodlust. The psych ward kind of committed. Number 7, RimWorld. Slavery, cannibalism, the physical maiming of your populace, brainwashing, brutal cults with a penchant for human sacrifice, RimWorld has it all. Of course, you can not do all those things, or any of those things, but if you want to be a demonic dictator, then if you can dream it, you can do it. On the one hand, you can go full supremacist, where people don't bat an eyelid at your world littered with corpses, or you can craft a society that I can only properly associate with the Reavers from Firefly. If you don't know that reference, basically we're talking about people who are big on murdering, wearing the skin of their victims, slavery, and pretty much any unsavory thing that comes to mind. If The Sims went insane and the entire game existed with the mentality of taking a ladder out of a pool just to watch your little guys die, then that's where you'll be at when playing evil in RimWorld. You can't go full Repo Man and rip the still beating heart out of somebody's chest in The Sims, but if you want to do that or make a fun hat out of somebody's skin, then RimWorld is the game for you. Number 6, Baldur's Gate 3. Modders saw a lot of opportunities to positively tweak their experience in the Elder Scrolls games. They also took it upon themselves to address where the team, for some reason, decided you couldn't be able to kill kids. Fortunately, history did not repeat itself with Baldur's Gate 3, where Larian decided kids are back on the menu. Well, okay, that doesn't work. You can't eat them, but you can kill them. At least the goblin kids. I'm not a mother, in case anyone's worried. There are some conflicting accounts on how killing the goblin little ones made people feel. Some were guilt-racked, while others, like me, were like, my last save was too long ago and those kids were annoying anyway. Evil in Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't begin and end with pedicide though. I swear the word is actually pedicide. I looked it up. I did not have that word in my vocabulary, and maybe neither did you, but now we both do. And there's no turning back. I'm sorry. The most story-centric playthrough is that of the Dark Urge, a person consumed with the urge to kill whose desire to take lives was driven just by the love of the game, the murder game. While playing the Dark Urge does give you unique access to disturbing nighttime antics, uber-violent dialogue, and constant thoughts of wanting to kill your nearest and dearest, let it not be said that you have to be Dark Urge to go full of sadistic evil, cause you can do it pretty much any which way. Said homicidal activities include, but are not limited to, kicking a squirrel, massacring a marginalized group of people, hijacking people's thoughts and making them do stuff, brainwashing a knoll to cannibalize his friends, and then himself, throwing people, throwing children, throwing people at children, throwing children at other children, and so on. I feel like I'm hitting a theme against kids here, and it's a theme that I'm pretty sure I continue later on in the script, so I'd love to say I didn't write this one, but let's keep going! Number 5, Planescape Torment. Critically acclaimed and criminally underplayed, most people are aware that Planescape Torment is a celebrated RPG, but not everybody knows that when it comes to its evil playthrough options, you can be downright diabolical. All this to say, you can be even more evil than Thanos with an itchy thumb, or people who bring their kids to a pub. See, I knew there was more in here somewhere. Planescape Torment is unique in that it was one of the earliest RPGs to heavily feature player decisions and enable you to resolve quests by talking the talk, instead of just stabbing the stab. That said, there's plenty of ways to be sadistic without getting your hands dirty, but you're more than welcome to do both. You can quite literally sell your party into slavery in exchange for cool gear, murder people just because you feel like it, threaten and lie like your life depends on it, and just embody a ruthless and violent force to be reckoned with. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Planescape Torment, but this is a really great example of just how disturbing and sadistic things can get when you combine excellent writing with the willingness to get super dark. Number 4, Crusader Kings. The Crusader Kings series may appear to be noble tales of expanding your house across the known world, but anyone who's played it knows that things get pretty wild pretty quickly. The thing with Crusader Kings is that it's a real slippery slope when it comes to heading toward evilldom. At the beginning, it's just things like taking advantage of your people's goodwill for fairly innocuous things, or deciding to coyly select an option on a screen that screws over a neighboring house for your own benefit. And then, before you know it, you're planning a murder plot to kill off your only heir because they turned out a bit crap. Crusader Kings is almost terrifying in the way that even the most moral will abandon their values. You'll arrive at a point where war is obviously the most useful option, but there's also far more underhanded and insidious actions, like paying people off to slyly murder your enemies or children, oh my god, I've done it again, or engage in some light torture of a vassal until your victim goes insane. Then there's the old Middle Ages classics, seducing or impregnating your own family members, gouging out eyes, chopping off peens, torturing prisoners, you get the gist. The sadism hits another level with Crusader Kings, as not only is it an option to do these things, a lot of times it's the best option, as being a ruthless, unhinged murderer tends to get you a lot further than being an honorable, nice and loyal guy. Just look at Eddard Stark. The most disturbing part of the game is it makes you kind of understand the logic behind history's nastiest despots, or then maybe not so far as to understand cannibalism and human sacrifice, which Crusader Kings also gives the all clear to. Number 3, Black and White. Black and White is a 2001 game by Fable mastermind Peter Molyneux that's been largely forgotten over the years, which is a shame because it was really solid. It also let you play God and left it up to you to decide what kind of God that was gonna be. For the purposes of this list, I'm of course naturally going to assume that you decided to be the dastardly and malevolent kind. We've already talked about Molyneux letting you be bad via the means of Fable, but the freedom of the God game genre opens doors to sadism that the RPG genre simply doesn't have at its disposal. These doors include those tied to the creature you train and grow as you play. Curiously, you can choose to be good and have your creature reap mayhem, or vice versa. Or you can both head down the path that makes your temple look like it'd fit right in on the main streets of hell and make your beast, who gets uglier the more evil it is, turn into an absolute bastardized version of what was presumably once something approaching a regular animal. Number 2, Stellaris. 2016 4X game Stellaris lets you commit atrocities across galaxies. And if that's not enough to qualify for one of our top slots, I don't know what is. With the mechanical scale and effed up features of Crusader Kings, and then of course the freedom of how you want to play of RimWorld, this game is uniquely positioned to make any parent deeply regret picking it up for their kid. While there are plenty of games on our list where you can do incredibly vile things, Stellaris enables a level of brutality that many gamers would say pushes the envelope a little bit too far. Like, well off the desk and into the realm of planet-wide genocide via the means of orbital strikes, and turning an entire race into slaves, or turning an entire race into food, or both, I guess. You take on the role of a pre-made or custom civilization, and naturally some are more geared towards evil than others. I haven't played Stellaris personally, but I have played Twilight Imperium, and I like being the Necrovirus, where you're basically just an AI galactic threat. Stellaris first appears to be just a fairly innocuous, if complex, 4X strategy game. But under the hood, it houses just about every evil possibility that you could ever imagine unleashing on an unsuspecting universe. It's enough to make you a bit queasy, honestly, although that could be because my dinner was half a block of cheese and a bag of red licorice. But let's find out by jumping into our last entry in our list full of absolutely yucky, sadistic, and disturbing playthroughs. Number 1, Kenshi. Kenshi is a 2016 real-time strategy RPG that focuses on player freedom. The game is enormous in terms of scale, possibilities, and customization. You're thrown into the post-apocalypse up against the elements and a brutal world that's prepared to chew you up and spit you out. So it's bound to make people get a little cold-hearted at best, or full-on sadistic sociopath at worst. The world is really your oyster, ultimately, and as a post-apocalyptic playground, you can do whatever you want. You can, of course, decide to be a chill trader, or nobly set out to abolish slavery. Or you can be a slave trader and make money that way. If that's already got your yuck reaction going, we aren't stopping there. In the torture realm alone, you can have your new recruits train up their combat skills by beating up captive NPCs, unalive your enemies by watching beasts devour them, or perhaps you'd like to invest in a peeler machine. This does pretty much what it says on the tin, except instead of doing it with a mango, it does it with a fully live human being. If you'd like to subcontract said killing, you can always shift people you don't like into the hands of cannibals. Yes, of course there are cannibals. It takes a long time to become powerful in Kenshi, as it's relentlessly difficult, not to mention its curious damage system where you and your foes can permanently lose limbs. Once you pull that off though, you'll find that the opportunities for performing heinous and sadistic acts are boundless. So isn't that nice? I think we all need like a montage of cats trying to jump onto kitchen islands and not quite making it to recover from this list. So, drop them below.